The ripple effect. On a quiet morning, the city moved as it always did, fast, distracted, and indifferent. People hurried past one another, eyes fixed on screens, shoulders heavy with invisible worries. Among them was an elderly man named Mr. Hale, standing at a bus stop, his hands trembling as he searched his pockets. His bus card was missing. A young woman named Lena noticed. She had already had a long week, her patience worn thin by small disappointments. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she stepped forward, tapped her card, and smiled. "Don't worry," she said softly. "I've got it." Mr. Hale's eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered, as if kindness were something fragile. Later that day, Mr. Hale stopped at a small cafe. The warmth of Lena's gesture lingered in his heart. When the barista accidentally spilled coffee on the counter, clearly flustered, Mr. Hale waved it off and left an extra tip. "We all have tough days," he said kindly. The barista, surprised and relieved, carried that kindness into her next interaction. When a tired mother struggled to calm her crying child, the barista offered a free cookie and a gentle smile. The mother, comforted, felt lighter than she had all week. That evening, the mother returned home and found her neighbor struggling with groceries. Without thinking, she held the door, helped carry the bags, and stayed for a short conversation that turned loneliness into laughter. None of them knew Lena. None of them knew how it all began. But something small had traveled far, like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples outward. And somewhere in the city, Lena ended her day unaware that her simple choice to be kind had quietly changed many lives. The ripples did not stop with a single day. The next morning, Lena boarded the same bus, unaware that her small act had begun to echo through lives she would never meet. She stood holding the rail as the bus lurched forward, watching the city wake up, shop shutters rising, street vendors arranging fruit, children tugging at their parents' hands. Across the aisle sat a teenage boy named Amir, his backpack worn thin at the seams. He was on his way to school, anxious about a presentation he hadn't prepared well enough. His mind raced with self-doubt. When an older passenger struggled to stand as the bus filled, Amir hesitated, remembering how often he felt unseen. Then, almost instinctively, he stood and offered his seat. The woman accepted with a nod that carried more gratitude than words. That single moment of doing something right steadied Amir's heart. He walked into his classroom later that day standing a little taller. When his classmate fumbled during her presentation, Amir didn't laugh like others did. Instead, he spoke up gently, helping her finish her point. The teacher noticed. So did the rest of the class. Meanwhile, the cafe barista, still warmed by Mr. Hale's kindness, ended her shift feeling lighter than usual. On her way home, she stopped at a small grocery store. At the checkout, she noticed the cashier being scolded harshly by a customer over a minor mistake. When the man stormed off, the barista leaned forward and said softly, "You're doing great. Don't let one voice drown out the good ones." The cashier blinked, startled. No one had ever said that to her before. That evening, the cashier returned home to her younger brother, who was struggling with homework and frustration. Instead of snapping, as exhaustion urged her to do, she sat beside him patiently. Together, they worked through each problem, turning confusion into confidence. Elsewhere, Mr. Hale walked through the park where he fed pigeons every afternoon. He noticed a young man sitting alone on a bench, shoulders slumped, eyes hollow with something heavier than fatigue. Mr. Hale offered him some bread and conversation. They spoke of nothing important, weather, birds, the way time moves too fast. But when they parted, the young man felt less invisible. No one traced these moments back to Lena at the bus stop. No one counted them. They weren't recorded or praised. Yet kindness continued to travel, quietly changing tones, softening edges, healing small fractures in ordinary days. Like ripples in water, each act widened the circle, touching lives far from the point where it began. And the world, for reasons no one could fully explain, felt just a little kinder. Days passed, and the ripples continued their quiet journey. The young man Mr. Hale had spoken to in the park, his name was Daniel, returned to that same bench the following afternoon. He wasn't sure why. Perhaps it was the memory of being spoken to without judgment, without expectation. He sat there watching the pigeons scatter and return, realizing how similar people were, always leaving, always hoping there would still be something waiting when they came back. Daniel had been carrying grief for a long time, the kind that makes the world feel distant. That evening, instead of going straight home, he called his sister, someone he hadn't spoken to in months. Their conversation was awkward at first, full of pauses and careful words. But before they hung up, Daniel said something he hadn't said in a long time: "I miss you." On the other end of the line, someone exhaled in relief. Across town, Amir's teacher shared his quiet act of support as an example in class. Not to embarrass him, but to show how kindness could change the atmosphere of a room. Amir felt his ears burn, but inside, something settled. After school, he helped a younger student who had dropped her books on the stairs. It felt natural now, like kindness had found a place to stay. The barista began greeting customers by name when she could. People noticed. A man who used to rush in and out started lingering, asking how her day was going. A woman who always ordered silently began to smile back. The cafe, once just a stop between places, slowly became a space where people felt seen. The cashier's brother took his newfound confidence to school. When a classmate struggled during a math test, he whispered encouragement instead of teasing. The teacher noticed the change. The classroom felt calmer, safer, like a place where mistakes were allowed. And Lena, still unaware of all of this, stood one evening at a crosswalk, waiting for the light to change. A car had broken down nearby, and its driver looked close to tears. Without thinking, Lena stepped forward to help push the car to the side with a few other strangers. Their laughter broke the tension. What had felt like a disaster turned into a shared moment of relief. As Lena walked home, she felt a quiet warmth settle in her chest. She didn't know why the world felt gentler lately, only that she felt more connected to it. Far beyond her sight, the circles continued to widen. A kind word led to patience. Patience led to courage. Courage led to connection. None of it was loud. None of it demanded recognition. But together, these small moments stitched invisible threads between strangers, holding the world together in ways no one ever truly saw. And that was the secret of the ripple effect. You never know how far your kindness will travel.